the Niners had kind of like a miracle season. It would be a way to put it, considering the way the season went. They lost. It felt like everybody to injury. The joke was CMC was sacrificing players every single week. You lose your first-round pick and Michael Williams. You lose Fred Warner to a catastrophic ankle injury. Nick Bosa tears his ACL. You deal with a ton of other injuries on the defense as well. You're at this point where you win a wild card game against the Philadelphia Eagles with 3 guys playing on your defense that were not on the team a month and a half prior to the game. And that it kind of speaks to the season that they had. You had 2 quarterbacks play this year. Mac Jones was 7-3, and Brock Purdy was 7-2 this year. So you had 2 quarterbacks play and have really, really good years. For MVP, though, it's kind of a layup. I think you could make an argument for Mac Jones with the way that he played in the games that he did because he won some really big games for them, especially like the Rams game, which I have to mention every time I talk about the 49ers, is that Rams game on Thursday Night Football because it was a great game. We also hit a parlay on that game. Shout out Jake Tonjes. But the MVP was CMC. He had 1,200-plus rushing yards this year. He had 924 receiving yards, being 76 receiving yards short of an 1,000 season. He had 17 total touchdowns, and the dude played every single game. A year coming off an injury, and a dude who's been injury-riddled his entire year. He had the most touches in the NFL this season. So, like, him and Derrick Henry, like, really, really pushed the different narrative. And Josh Jacobs did this as well this year of, running backs, when they get older, they get hurt more. They can't play the whole season. You can't give them a bunch of touches. CMC, Derrick, Josh Jacobs had incredible years, all of them this year, and it really will help the running back market as we move forward in terms of the value that they'll get in free agency. But do y'all have a different MVP than CMC?
No.
I think Mac Jones would have been the honorable mention for me.
Is CMC not the MVP, though? Because if you factor in all the people he sacrificed to injury, I think you'd probably rather have all of those players than CMC on your team.
Like, I don't know. They were
true
in the contention to win the NFC West without those players with him.
Like, they've lost in a Super Bowl without CMC and lost in a Super Bowl with them. So it might be a 50-50. It really didn't matter.
Yeah. What is?
I agree with.
Need to know what's the war of one player versus the 7 players it costs you to keep them. I don't know.
They're big players too, like Nick Bosa and Fred Warner.
Yeah.
For not honorable mention. Unsung hero, the guy that went under the radar and no one really talked about him much this year, and no one really knows of them. I had a couple of them because there were a bunch of misfits and no names on this defense this year. Renardo Green had 10 pass deflections. Do you know what position he plays?
He's like on the line,
edge,
defensive back.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that was you kind of buried the lead there a little bit.
He got us.
Upton Stout. Do you know what position he plays?
Give me his best stat.
He was a rookie. That's his best stat, and he played well this year.
Stout. That feels like a linebacker.
He was a defensive back.
Dang. Oh my gosh.
D. Winters started 18 games this year.
Safety.
Jack?
I'll back Sanders.
He's a linebacker, middle linebacker.
That makes way more sense.
He was the green dot. He led the team in tackles.
Really
don't back Sanders.
It's hard to guess players' positions based off of just their name.
Yeah, he was this year 3 out of TCU, and then Luke Gifford.
Can't be a real name.
On that?
Can't be.
He's the lone Pro Bowler on this defense.
Was it a special teams Pro Bowl?
No.
Okay. Safety.
Interior defensive line.
He was a linebacker. So, yeah, a bunch of misfits on this team.
The island of misfits
that you don't really
fits.
Know their names, and they had incredible years, and that's a credit to what I'll get into right now, their coaching change. Robert Saleh, what he did this year with this defense, with all the injuries and the new pieces, they had an incredible year defensively. He takes the head coaching job for the Tennessee Titans. Gus Bradley, who was a defensive coach already for the 49ers, is going to just be promoted to defensive coordinator. He was the assistant head coach to the defense last year. That was his title. That was the big thing to address in terms of coaching this offseason because Robert Saleh left for Tennessee. There have been talks about addressing special teams, and that was kind of an issue this year. They had 3 different kickers. Jake Moody, and then Matt Gay before going to Eddie Pinheiro. Pinheiro is the most accurate kicker in the league, 28 of 29, and his only miss being 50+. He also had his best kick of the year was 3 of the 6 points they scored in the divisional round against against the Seattle Seahawks. He's going to be a free agent, and we'll talk about him in a little bit. But if there's really an adjustment to be made, maybe special teams could be adjusted in terms of your coaching and what you do there, because the kicking was kind of it got to a point where like Kyle Shanahan didn't want to watch kicks early on in the season with Jake Moody and Matt Gay.
Yeah, he should have just checked reel.
Yeah, he wishes he could just have reel. But Pinheiro kind of locked that position up. He's a free agent, though. For their cap space and contract decisions, they have $24 million in cap space, with free agents being Juwan Jennings, Kendrick Bourne, Sky Moore, Eddie Pinheiro, as I mentioned, and their punter as well, Thomas Morstad, Saint Legend. They don't have a ton of flexibility in free agency, but much of the stars and starters are filled. The one thing that really hurts them is the Brandon Ayuk situation. Brandon Ayuk didn't play a snap this year for San Francisco. Per John Lynch, their general manager, he has played his final snap for the San Francisco 49ers. Brandon Ayuk has. So it's a messy situation. It was already like BS to begin with 2 years ago in their contract decisions. It was literally being talked about for like 3 weeks because we're in the offseason and there has to be something to talk about football-wise every day. And it was Brandon Ayuk, where are we at with that situation? Schefter's getting asked every single day, and Ian Rappaport's getting asked every single day, where are we at, where are we at? He doesn't play a single snap this year. He tore his ACL through 7 games 2 years ago. It feels like trading him is ideal, and this is the big thing they got to fix from a cap space decision this offseason, because trading him, you can at least get some value back, but they may very well just cut him and let him walk. The problem is, what's his trade value? Like we've talked about, not on the show yet because we haven't done Philly, but A.J. Brown, what's his trade value? And it seems like maybe it's a second-round pick, maybe it's a third-round pick. And that is a guy who had 2 incredible years, 2 1,400 receiving yard years, and then he's been a 1,000-yard receiver 4 years in a row as well with Philly. Ayuk didn't play a snap last year. He tore his ACL and is coming off of that and still hasn't played a snap since tearing his ACL. And even when he had his best year, he was just barely an 1,000-yard receiver. So where is his trade value? It doesn't feel like it'd be a lot. In Madden, it's a lot. I can tell you that much. But in real life,
in Madden, you can sign a 68 overall free agency and trade him for a first-round pick.
Exactly.
So I don't think that may be where the Madison comparison,
comes to an end.
Their algorithm is a little bit messed up there. So maybe you're getting a 4th-round pick for Brandon Ayuk.
Commanders will give you a 6th.
Yeah, there's the number to beat.
I'll give you a 5th.
The Chargers don't want him.
We'll give a 5th and a 7th.
Problem is, you also have to take into account those teams are going to be trading for his contract as well. So it's more favorable for San Francisco to just straight up cut him, and then they sign him to some kind of deal. But that feels like the biggest piece.
I feel like it's more favorable for San Francisco to trade him.
Other teams to see him be cut and then re-sign him.
Yes.
Is what I meant to say. So that is like the biggest piece of the offseason. That, and I think the special teams, because Pinheiro is a free agent and Thomas Morstead, your punter, is a free agent. And that leads towards free agency. Mac Jones is already under contract, so backup quarterback is fixed. Brock Purdy has dealt with injury concerns the past 2 years. He's missed half the season both the past 2 years. So Mac Jones is still under contract. He'll be there. There's going to be some trade value for him, and maybe take some questions and some calls there.
Yeah, I feel like backup quarterback may not be addressed because I do feel like there's going to be a team that's going to call up and offer like a 3rd-round pick.
I'm pretty sure I saw a report that said they're not trading him.
Yeah.
Which obviously everyone has a price, but it seemed pretty set in stone. They were like, yeah, we're not.
I do think since backup quarterback's addressed, you have to get depth pieces, given the fact you continue to get hurt year after year. If there's one piece that I would love for them to spend, then it would be safety. I would love for them to spend on a safety. They have playmakers at 2 levels right now, in Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. And, they hope with Michael Williams and with the season D. Winters had, But if you could add a third one because you had good DB years at safety, then having a playmaker at all three levels defensively could really help them. And I would think of two guys when I think about that. I think of Reed Blankenship, who's a free agent from Philly if he's not re-signed, and then Jaquan Brisker from Chicago is going to be a free agent. He's going to be a hot commodity. I think you give your defense a playmaker at all three levels because the NFC it's built on really, really deep teams with the really, really good weapons. JSN and Puka Nacua with the Rams, those are both just in your division right there. So the Eagles have their weapons and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Caleb Williams has all of his weapons with Ben Johnson. You need playmakers defensively to defend the playmakers that you're going to see. So I think that's where I would go in free agency, personally. Do you have any free agency qualms, wants?
No, not really. I mean, once I agree, defensive playmakers, it's very admirable the job that this crew did this year. It doesn't mean that I'd be very happy to run it back.
It's not sustainable.
Correct. I think that's a very great way to put it. It's not sustainable, and I think they know that. And you also lost Robert Saleh, so there's another piece there. It's not the same defensive coordinator, so maybe try and find some guys that fit your new defensive coordinator's kind of style. So I like it.
Yeah, as far as play, I mean, they'll return Nick Bosa.
Yeah,
they'll return Fred
coming
Warner.
Off an ACL.
Yeah,
Fred's should be healthy.
They'll have a former first rounder in Mikael Williams. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think secondary, especially the playmakers, I don't hate that at all. So I can get behind that. And yeah, where have you? I don't want to get into the draft too early, but maybe we can look at. Do you have them? You finish free agency and then we'll talk draft, and we can see is there.
That's to finish it. And I can talk into it right now. San Francisco is the 27th overall pick. Brock Purdy's under a hefty contract, and he's signed until 2030, which is the next 5 seasons. So, this is not a spot to even joke about Taylon Green or a quarterback of any nature, Ty Simpson, who would just be Brock Purdy as well, you'd think. So
I don't know. Is it Luke? Somebody in the 6th round? Who is it? I was thinking about
Blake Shapen.
No, I was not thinking about Blake
Mark
Shapen.
Gronowski.
Luke Altmaier.
I don't know. Mark Gronowski kind of feels like to keep
Sawyer Robertson.
No, I feel like
I
Mark
can't believe
Gronowski
Gronowski's even ranked.
or Cole Payton. You keep going North Dakota State after the Trey Lance pick.
Joe Fagnano.
Fagnano. That's a fire name. Anyway, continue with your actual draft discussion.
It seems like wide receiver is a need, given you're losing Juwan Jennings, you're losing Kendrick Bourne. Those are 2 of your leading receivers this year. Ricky Pearsall dealt with injuries all year. Demarcus Robinson is a free agent as well. So that's 4 receivers if you include Sky Moore that are going to be gone. And Ricky Pearsall is the only one remaining because Brandon Ayuk is not going to play. So receiver feels like something to address. It's such a weird spot to be in, though, because I do feel like potentially 7, but 6 receivers are going to go off the board before them. And so they're taking the 8th or 7th best receiver available. Now, we've talked up Elijah Surratt, Omar Cooper, and Jack loves Casey Concepcion. And I personally love Chris Brazell. Sanders, as a Bama fan, loves Jeremy Bernard. So
do not love Jeremy Bernard, and I'm not a Bama fan. But
that's crazy.
There are great receivers there that are available, but are they good enough to be drafted as a first-round receiver at 27? Or are they someone you try to hope falls into the late 2nd round to you? I don't know. The other need I would say is edge rusher to go alongside Nick Bosa. Mikael Williams is going to be coming off a torn ACL himself, and so maybe you add another guy to that edge rushing group. Safety is something maybe you could address with your first round pick. I don't know where they'd look to go because outside Caleb Downs, it's not a very deep safety class. They have 3 4th-round picks. That's where it's going to be really critical to address depth needs, and I think that's where you address depth. I think you look for guys that can make instant impacts. And so the one pick I'd suggest right now is Akeem Mesidor.
Yeah.
He is, I think, going to be here potentially at 27. If he is, he's a great fit because they have a win-now attitude. He's he's old for a prospect. He's 25, if I'm not mistaken. And he's been consistently productive. And you're looking for production. You're not looking for someone who's going to peak in 2 to 3 years. You want it right now.
I think he'll be 25 come draft night.
Okay, so yeah, he'll be 25, and he'll be 25 playing next year. He had 9.5 sacks across his freshman and sophomore years at West Virginia, and then he had a season his junior year at Miami with 7 sacks, and then he had 12.5 this year. So he's been productive for 4 different seasons. He had one season where he had dealt with an injury and got a medical red shirt, which is why he's still, was still in college this past year.
Sure.
He has been really consistently productive. Mel Kiper is a guy who is frothing at the mouth over him already, so he may end up going higher, although Mel has been wrong before.
Mel Kiper's just washed now. Like, I think he's in the twilight of his draft analyst career.
People have to remember is he's never worked for an NFL franchise.
Yeah.
So he understands to a degree what he's doing, and his ranking should be taken with some respect, but he's never actually been a scout before for an NFL franchise.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't know exactly.
Unlike us, who have all played Madden.
Yeah, unlike us. But
Sure.
Unlike Daniel Jeremiah.
Right.
Or even Field Yates, who's been in an organization before. So he doesn't necessarily understand what they're going. He can only take it from what other people have told him or is what he's heard.
Yeah.
Sure.
But he loves Akeem Mesidor. I would say Akeem Mesidor is a really nice pick if he's here. But also, like, if a receiver fell to here, it's a great pick as well. What about y'all?
I agree with your logic. I'm maybe a little more optimistic on you that one of the receivers will fall there, and I just think it's almost a must that you get receiver help, whether it's free agency further on in the draft. But it's just, I would be scared to keep waiting on it because I just really feel like it's the biggest hole on this team. That being said, I don't hate edge rusher. Akeem Mesidor, that's fine. Maybe like a Cassius Howe falls because of lack of size or something like that. I doubt it, but maybe, and you can kind of jump on that. But yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. Wide receiver's priority number 1.
Yeah.
But I understand, you're not gonna reach on a guy 15 spots higher than you think he should go just because you're like, we need wide receiver.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is a place that goes double receiver, like goes second round and third round receiver, goes like
One of them's gonna work out.
First and fourth receiver.
Sure.
I think of like Houston did that this year. Now it hasn't panned out fully, but like Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel in back-to-back picks.
But that's the thing. When you take a second and third round wide receiver, you're not getting a Malik Neighbors or a Brian Thomas Jr. You're getting a Puka Nacua, who I don't think had a great rookie season. I don't think he really broke out. He was behind Cooper Kupp, I believe. Or you're getting a maybe JSN was a first-round pick, but like you're getting someone who it's like you're not going to be a Pro Bowler or an All-Pro your first year, but we really like you and we think you could become that.
Yeah.
And when you take 2 or 3 of them, like if you hit on 33% or 50%, you walk away with 1 or 2 really good wide receivers. So that's kind of the approach there of taking the spending multiple lower draft picks on those kind of wide receivers that you think could turn into something, as opposed to they are already an NFL wide receiver.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I would say wide receiver first round, but I love like Akeem Mesidor, an edge rusher, someone defensively. Free agency, I'd go after a safety, and that kind of leads into the early realistic goal for next year, and that would be to make the postseason with aging stars in Trent Williams, who will be 38, and CMC, and George Kittle if he returns off his Achilles injury, and Fred Warner. This roster is built to win now. They were 1 game away from the 1 seed this year, meaning they potentially were 1 game away from NFC Championship and another game away from the Super Bowl. That's how close they were, and it felt like a down season. Instead, they lost in Week 18, and they became 3rd place in the division, and so they got technically the 3rd place schedule. Now, I will say the 3rd place teams they play help them a ton in that. Like, it's not like it's, they just got a 3rd place schedule. It could be, no, they get to play the Falcons, Dolphins, and Vikings because of the 3rd place schedule.
Yeah.
And none
It's
of
pretty
those
solid.
As
have
opposed to the
answers.
Packers, Bucks, and
No, Packers, Panthers, and Pats, because those are the teams that won those divisions.
You said they finished third or second?
Third.
So they get to play the teams you listed as opposed to the Packers, Bucks. Didn't the Bucks finish second?
No, they get to play those teams. They would have been first if they'd won the Week 18. They would have been.
Oh, you're right. They would have.
Yeah.
Yep. That's crazy that they're third instead of first instead of second. Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
One game changed it from Bears, Pats, and the Carolina Panthers to Falcons, Dolphins, Vikings. So that's 3 wins. It should be.
Yeah.
And they do well in the division, really, regardless of who's playing and who is healthy. So I do think this is a team that should make the playoffs next year. And with the amount of money and that is invested in these older stars, go and try and win now. They've already missed 2 windows of winning a Super Bowl, but it's not necessarily over with this kind of roster going forward. And that is obviously something that Kyle Shanahan wants to do really, really bad. They were in the divisional round this year. They had an excellent year in what felt like a down year. So maybe this guy's looking up for San Francisco.
Yeah.
Sure.
What was your preseason?
That was his realistic to make the playoffs.
Just make
the playoffs. Yeah. I don't hate that.
They could be in run for the division. I wouldn't hate them as a division pick next year either. With the Seattle regression to mean and Stafford retires.
Yeah, that's kind of what it takes.
Worse injury luck for the Rams.